You ever look at a celebrity and think there is no way talent alone got you that far? Well, Joe Rogan has been thinking it too, except he has a microphone and absolutely no problem naming names. Because when you start digging into what some of Hollywood's biggest stars had to tolerate, protect, ignore, or become to stay on top, selling your soul starts sounding less like some crazy conspiracy and more like a very nasty business arrangement.
There's a thing that happens in that town, in that area, where the people that think outside of the norm say it in like whispered, hushed tones. There's a certain ideology that's attached to that city, and it's not logical. It's a kooky, wacky, completely insulated left-wing view of the world, and they enforce it with an iron fist. And if you're not on that team, you don't get booked for things. You don't get picked for things.
Now, I'm sorry, but we have to start counting somebody else's money because, excuse me, Ellen and Oprah had talk shows. Talk shows. Sit down, ask Jennifer Aniston about her divorce, give somebody a blender, send the audience home screaming. Cute job. Except somehow Ellen walked away worth hundreds of millions, and Oprah said, "That's adorable," and became a damn billionaire. Girl, what was in those commercial breaks?
Success, and with money, you become more of who you are.
One of the best things about hosting the show is that I get to bring joy and laughter to the world. But the second best thing is that makes me very, very rich.
Ellen is one of the richest women in America. She's worth $330 million.
You shouldn't live your life in fear of money because you're going to manifest that.
Ellen reportedly makes $50 million a year on her talk show. On top of that, there's her game show.
She gets paid around $10 million a year for that.
Endorsement deals, commercials, and her popular digital channel, EllenTube. Oh, and Ellen reportedly got $20 million for her Netflix comedy special, which turned her vast wealth into a running joke.
By 1995, she was sitting on an estimated $340 million fortune, enough to join the Forbes 400 list of richest Americans and becoming the first Black woman to ever appear on the list. In 1997, she grew that fortune into $550 million. And in 2003, Oprah became a billionaire. After 25 years of Oprah being on the air, she said goodbye to her TV show and, in partnership with Discovery Communications, launched her own cable channel, the Oprah Winfrey Network, or OWN, in 2011. Winfrey has a net worth of $2.6 billion.
And yes, before somebody runs in waving a Forbes article at me, I know production companies, ownership, syndication, investments, endorsements, real estate. Wonderful. Very impressive. Everybody gets a sticker. But billionaire territory is a different neighborhood entirely. And just so we understand how disgustingly large $1 billion is, if you spend $1,000 every single day, it would take you about 2,140 years to blow through $1 billion. At some point, Oprah wasn't just interviewing powerful people anymore. She was one of the powerful people. Presidents wanted her endorsement. Hollywood wanted her approval. Billionaires were her friends. One little couch somehow came with access to half the damn establishment.
Mastered the ability to make power feel kind, mastering the performance of care while using it to protect power. All of this behavior leaves you questioning how Oprah was ever considered trustworthy in the first place, especially as a huge part of her image was her backstory. She presented herself as a poor girl from rural Mississippi, a child so deprived she claimed cockroaches were her pets. No nice clothes, no comfort, no stability. That story allowed her audience to see themselves in her. They believed her story was their story, and unlike the polished presenters of the time, it made Oprah feel authentic, self-made. But her family tells a very different story. They actually describe Oprah as having a spoiled, comfortable childhood. After a controversial biography written about Oprah, her cousin even claims to have confronted her about these lies, with Oprah reportedly replying, "That's what people want to hear. The truth is boring." That single line reveals the moment a person made a conscious decision to become a product. Her cousin said, quote, "No one in the family believes her stories, but now that she's so rich and powerful, everyone is afraid to contradict her." Vernon Winfrey, a stepfather who reportedly helped raise Oprah, is quoted as saying, "She may be admired by the world, but I know the truth."
So turns out, little miss, I came from absolutely nothing. May have been selling us a little extra seasoning with that story because according to her relatives, she wasn't exactly growing up in a cardboard box fighting pigeons for dinner. And girlfriend had a plan. She wanted to be rich. Not good salary and a Christmas bonus rich. She wanted her face everywhere, her name everywhere, and enough money to make a calculator nervous. And I'm being nosy because if you're already fluffing up the sad childhood chapter to make the Oprah story hit harder, what else got a little makeover? And when becoming filthy, rich, and powerful was the goal from day one, exactly what she was willing to do to get there.
The thing she did do very well was manage risk, protect the image, and never let red flags get in the way of a profitable deal. She's always close enough to benefit from each controversy, but never close enough to be held culpable. And it was usually those who desperately needed protection who paid the dearest price when the person and the business merged into the same entity. And nobody would learn this harder than one of Oprah's closest friends, Monique. Monique had previously confided in her about some of the most painful parts of her life, that she and her mother were no longer speaking and that her brother had molested her as a child. Oprah quickly booked both Monique's abusive brother and her estranged mother for the upcoming show, using their accounts to dig deeper into the trauma, dragging the entire situation into the spotlight.
She said my brother wanted to come on the show. She said, if you don't want me to have your brother on the show, I will cancel the show.
On the surface, that sounds like Oprah was giving Monique a choice, but what happened next would tell a very different story.
I began to see commercials with my brother, my mother, my father, and my other brother.
That's despite Monique making it crystal clear she wanted nothing to do with the pair, stating,
my brother Gerald is a charmer. I said I don't want nothing to do with that cat.
And that this is everything she didn't want.
She never said my mother was coming on that show, because had Oprah Winfrey said, I'm gonna have your mother, I would have said, shut it down. I shared with her that me and my mother was not talking. I shared with her I was hurt.
Still, the interview went ahead, and Monique found out the same way everyone else did, by watching it live on television. On stage, her brother finally admitted what he had done, saying,
I did assault and inappropriately touch my sister in manners that were not comfortable for her.
But even that wasn't enough to stop the family from defending him. Monique's mother brushed off parts of the story on air, protecting the abuser, whilst her other brother suggested that the essay was blown out of proportion.
So the woman who built this whole Mother Teresa of daytime TV image just backstabbed her own best friend like that? You're telling me she exposed her to one of the most painful encounters of her life? Because there was a check and some ratings sitting on the other side of it. Oh, that is nasty work. And I could keep running my mouth, but why bother when Wendy Williams already had hers warmed up? Wendy girl, the floor is. And oh boy, from that moment on, nothing could stop Monique from roasting Oprah every chance she got. And can you blame her? Once you feel like somebody played in your face like that, suddenly keeping it classy becomes a very optional activity.
You watched a black woman be thrown under the bus, and you said nothing as you spoke about equality when you were working in Baltimore at a show called People Are Talking. And Richard Sher was making $50,000 and Oprah Winfrey was making half of that. And she wanted to know, why does he make more money than me? That's not fair. So you've dealt with inequality. And to watch another black woman deal with inequality, and you keep quiet. Now there's two parts to Oprah Winfrey that I haven't really spoken about publicly. The other part with Oprah Winfrey is, yeah, you let me get thrown under the bus and you said nothing. The other part is you mess with my family. You mess with my mother, my father. She called me about my brother, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, listen, everybody can change. He wanted to apologize for molesting me. She said, Monique, would it be okay that he comes on? And would you like to come on? I said, I don't want nothing to do with that cat, but I don't want to get in the way of his blessing. If he's changing, I don't want to stop that. She never said my mother. She never said my father. Now, I know who my parents were because they're both gone. I know who they are. I know my mother's greed. I know my father's greed. And you did not say that you were going to have my parents. Because had you said you had my mother, now we had a conversation and I said to her, me and my mother are not in a good place. Now, she said some things to me about her mother and father, which I'll never repeat. Because I'm thinking we're having a sister moment. Yeah. So I shared some things with her about my mother, sometime in tears, and we talking. And then you go put my mother on your show. Yeah, we got a problem. We have a problem. And because it's Hollywood, oh, Monique, just don't say nothing. That's my mother. Yeah. And I didn't want the world to see my mother like that. So now when I'm in the Walmart, when I'm in the store, and before y'all say anything, this was Walmart years ago. Yeah. Okay, this was when they had DEI still going on, shit. I'm in the store and the elderly women are coming up to me saying, your mama ain't baby. We here for you. That's still my mother. So now I got to look at this elderly woman and say, you got to be respectful. But she watched that woman sit there and support the man that molested me. So me and Oprah Winfrey, T.S. Madison, I thought I was talking to a sister. I did not know I was talking to.
If you think it starts and ends with Monique, you are completely wrong. Oprah has managed to rub a whole buffet of celebrities the wrong way. For somebody whose entire brand was empathy, healing, and understanding, Miss Oprah sure has a suspicious amount of people suffering from her attitude.
Industry secret that spawned the infamous phrase, "Nobody says no to Oprah." This was the trap Toni Braxton walked into. She went on Oprah's show expecting a supportive conversation about financial hardship with a woman she'd admired her entire life. Braxton was already in a vulnerable position, openly admitting she was broke years before meeting Oprah. But when the interview began, it quickly turned into an interrogation, one that felt less like a conversation and more like a humiliation ritual in front of millions.
She was so freaking mean to me. I was in shock. Do you take responsibility for the situation that you're in right now? 100%. 100%? 100%. I couldn't believe it because I loved her so much. I admired her and looked up to her. And she pretty much reprimanded me.
B-R-O-K-E broke?
Broke.
Like broke?
Like, no money.
No money. Like net worth what?
Negative.
Negative.
Negative. And immediately, she made me feel this big. This big. That moment completely changed my career. It made people look down on me.
Braxton's lowest point had just been turned into a punchline in front of millions. She says this experience still haunts her today, permanently affecting her ability to trust, open up, and feel safe being vulnerable in public. One of Oprah's methods in all of this was confrontation, ambushing guests with the thing they were most afraid to talk about. That was just great business for her show, as people love the drama.
People love watching drama, being part of it. Oh, suddenly nobody's laughing. Turns out Oprah wasn't only serving celebrities slices of that fake sweetheart cake. Her own audience got fed too. Remember, you get a car, everybody gets a car. People crying, screaming, practically seeing Jesus in the Pontiac parking lot. It was one of the most iconic giveaways in television history. Well, spoiler alert, everybody got a car and a tax bill to match. So, more like you get a car, and you get a financial obligation.
Many people don't know is that it was not as simple as, here are the keys, have fun. When someone gives out anything on television, there is always a catch. For Oprah's audience, the catch was that if they wanted to drive away in their brand new car, they would have to pay $7,000 in taxes first. While Oprah's studio would cover, the sales tax and the registration for the vehicles, the audience members were given a choice to either pay the $7,000 and take the car, or just kind of take the cash instead. The infamous moment on the show featured 11 real teachers who were, according to Oprah, in desperate need of a new car. They, along with the audience members, received keys in a box on camera that Oprah claimed to be for their new cars. Everything has a catch even now though. For someone who is known for being super charitable and generous, the word free clearly means something else to Oprah.
And if this next Oprah story doesn't scream working with the devil, I don't know what will. Oprah promoted Brazilian spiritual healer John of God, even traveling to Brazil to meet him and putting that Oprah stamp of approval on his miracle act. Years later, hundreds of women and not only accused him of sexual abuse, and he was eventually convicted of sexual crimes. Oprah later condemned him, sure, but man, how did a monster like that get the Oprah seal of approval in the first place?
God was one of the biggest cons in modern history. A self-proclaimed Brazilian faith healer who claimed he could cure serious illness through nothing more than divine power and spiritual intervention. Over time, he built a devoted following in Brazil where sick patients would line up for days hoping to be miraculously cured. But he had no medical training, no qualifications, and his methods had been debunked by medical experts around the world. In fact, at the time, there were countless stories of people who spent their life savings traveling to Brazil to meet him, only to then return home no better than when they left.
Looking back now, Glenys, how do you describe that journey to Brazil to see John of God?
When I saw him, he just went zoom, 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 and that was it.
Did you ever go back?
No, decided not to go because I didn't feel any effect whatsoever.
How did that leave you? Were you...
Disappointed. Of course you are disappointed. You hope to be able to walk and get better.
Needless to say, any reasonable person would see this for what it is, a grift designed to sell false hope to sick and desperate people, all while exploiting their vulnerability for financial gain. But surprisingly, not Oprah. She quickly picked up the story, featuring him in her magazine and devoting several episodes of her show to praising his work and claiming his powers could genuinely save lives. There are blog posts on her website dedicated to him, which have now been deleted, presumably because of what happened next. She flew out to meet him in person and documented the case of Lisa Melman, a woman who had abandoned conventional cancer treatment in favor of John of God's supposed healing powers. And on Oprah's stage, Melman claimed something remarkable, that her breast cancer was now gone and that John had cured her. There was evidence of this discussion on YouTube, but it's all been since scrubbed by Oprah's team. That's because the reality was just far more tragic. Because just 2 years later, Lisa Melman died. Her cancer had never been cured at all, and according to reports, after she abandoned conventional treatment, the disease continued to spread and progressively worsened. So by the time she died, she was going to be in agonizing pain, and Oprah never returned to television to tell that part of the story. This happened while Oprah prolifically promoted the benefits of breast cancer screening when that virtue needed to be signaled. But by then, the damage had been done. She had already endorsed John of God to an international audience as a man capable of miracles. From there, John of God's business exploded, with an estimated 15 million people traveling from across the world to meet him. But for many of the women who entered his orbit, that journey didn't end in healing, it ended in sexual abuse. A subtext that exploded into public view in 2018 when more than 600 women, including John's own daughter, came forward accusing him of sexual abuse.
John of God was declared a fugitive on Saturday after missing a deadline to surrender to the authorities. Claims against him began earlier this month when a dozen women said the self-styled spiritual healer had abused them at his clinic. Since then, scores have poured in from women within Brazil and abroad. Faria became internationally famous when he appeared on a show hosted by Oprah Winfrey. His fame had been boosted by supposedly miraculous surgeries.
And this is where Oprah's role becomes impossible to ignore. If she had done her due diligence before legitimizing John of God on her show, she may have picked up on allegations that had followed him throughout his career. The quiet murmur that this so-called healer was in fact not who he seemed on more than one level. So while we can't know exactly how many women Oprah helped steer into a circle, it's difficult to deny that her endorsement played a significant role in widening that pipeline.
Then comes Ellen with another gut-wrenching Hollywood story. She's talked about being broke before fame, working random jobs like waitressing, painting houses, and selling vacuum cleaners, then finally making it in comedy. And then comes a daytime talk show, and bam! Miss Vacuum Cleaner is suddenly hundreds of millions of dollars successful.
September 8th, this is our very, very first show, and you are my very first audience.
So now Ellen is one of the most popular people in the world. She has millions of people tuning into her daytime show every day. She's also hosting award shows. She hosted the Academy Awards twice. So she's very popular on TV and extremely popular on social media. And she had a viral moment in 2014 when she hosted the Oscars and she took that selfie with all the celebs. Ellen broke the internet with that image. That was the most shared image on Twitter at the time. So Ellen, she's extremely popular. She's presenting this image that she's this kind woman. People fall in love with her and they tune in to Ellen for kindness. But behind the scenes, there was an Ellen that the public did not know.
The Ellen DeGeneres show is facing new allegations this morning.
Ellen's alleged bad behavior had been whispered about in the industry for years. But then BuzzFeed published this bombshell expose that revealed a toxic workplace culture at the Ellen DeGeneres show with claims of alleged racism, fear, intimidation, and misconduct.
The accusations were kind of wild against Ellen. Supposedly, you weren't allowed to look her in the eye, she treated staff like peasants, and one former writer of her show said that she had a sensitive nose. That means you weren't allowed to have bad breath, order fish for lunch, and she even would send home staffers who supposedly smelled to go take a shower.
Girl, weren't you the waitress once? Funny how quickly some people forget what the other side of the paycheck felt like.
Real Food Daily served her and Portia a brunch. She wrote a letter to the owner and complained about my chipped nail polish. Not that it was on her plate, but just that it was on my hand. I worked till closing the night before, and this was the next morn. Almost got me fired. The nail polish story was so unbelievable, the person who wrote it went on Inside Edition.
This former waitress claims she was threatened with a 2-week suspension after Ellen DeGeneres complained about, of all things, her chipped fingernail polish.
I remember just being like,
Really?
But the stories shared back on Twitter were only getting worse. I once worked at Warner Brothers. One day I was in the elevator and Ellen and her entourage came in. Naturally, I held it for her and asked her what floor she was getting on. Her assistant answered 3rd floor. 30 minutes later, I got a call from my boss saying I was fired because I was harassing her. An old friend worked on her a lot and smiled and said good afternoon to her one day and she became unhinged. Who do you think you are? You don't look at me, yada yada. She said Portia was with her and seemed embarrassed and tried to calm her down. Has forever changed my opinion of her. The responses went on and on and on, all of which being compared to Ellen's classic catchphrase.
I always end each show by saying be kind to one another.
Audience member Dana DiMatteo then went public with her degrading experience on the show.
They tell you, you can't be smarter, funnier than Ellen. She's the comedian and the star, not you.
Don't be funnier than Ellen. That's gonna be hard considering she's not that funny to begin with. If you've been a comedian your whole life and you're afraid a random audience member will upstage you, maybe you're just not funny. Dana then revealed that Ellen's completely different when the cameras turn off.
How does the Ellen we see on TV compare to the Ellen you saw when the cameras stopped rolling?
Totally different. She would only speak to the audience when the cameras were rolling. As soon as they turned the cameras off, she would not even acknowledge the audience. She would just sit on the couch, basically.
Which was supported by Hedda Muscat, one of the show's former producers.
Toxic, phony, hypocrite, liar. That's what she is.
She agreed that things were different when the cameras weren't rolling.
We were told from the very beginning, don't talk to Ellen, don't do this, you can't go into her office. It was very nerve-wracking, very stressful. We all walked on eggshells all the time.
And after the show's DJ also said the same, BuzzFeed launched their own investigation, interviewing a further 11 former employees. They were fired after taking medical leave or bereavement days to attend family funerals. One employee who claimed she was fed up with comments about her race essentially walked off the job. Others said they were also instructed by their direct managers to not speak to DeGeneres if they saw her around the office.
And now Ellen, who couldn't be bothered to talk to her own staff, her audience, or even answer a guy asking what elevator floor she needed, suddenly wants to crawl back into everybody's good graces with a few poor little jokes. V-girl, now you want to be relatable. Nah, Ellen, people know better now. Or do they?
Other people thought of me, and I realize now looking back, I said that at the height of my popularity. I'm here because I love doing stand-up, I miss doing stand-up, and I like making people happy, and I do care what people think.
Now, this is a pretty respectable angle, as it feels extremely honest. Yet it also seems like a sneaky request for pity, which as a high-profile celebrity you'll simply never get. She then talks about what she's been up to.
All right, well, let me catch up on what's been going on with me since you saw me last. Oh yeah, I got kicked out of show business.
Then makes some pretty funny jokes about her new reputation.
Everybody heard that I was mean. Everywhere I go, I know everyone's heard that I'm mean. I know when I walk into a restaurant, people are watching, waiting to see if I'll be mean. Oh, look, she's reaching for butter. I thought she was gonna hit somebody.
On the contrary, there are some pretty out-of-touch segments. For example, her joking about her car features, which you'd clearly only find in a luxury vehicle.
Then there's that one, that button that inflates the back of the seat, the one that makes you feel like you're getting spooned by a pregnant woman.
She also makes this out-of-touch joke.
We're all interested in different things, we're all good at different things. I was talking to someone the other day and they said, Ellen, I don't know how you get on stage in front of people, I could never do that. And I said, well, I don't know how you dry clean clothes.
So did Ellen and Oprah literally sell their souls? Man, I wasn't there for the paperwork. But when that much money, power, questionable friendships, and people getting burned keep piling up around the same names, I'm allowed to raise an eyebrow. Maybe that's just what it takes to become Hollywood royalty. Or maybe we're finally seeing what was hiding underneath all those inspirational speeches and free cars. Either way, tell me what you think happened behind those fabulous closed doors, and I'll see you in the next mess. And yes, before someone pulls out a Forbes article and starts listing production companies, investments, endorsements, real estate, and ownership deals, I get it. Impressive numbers. But reaching billionaire status is a completely different level. Just to put $1 billion into perspective, Spending $1,000 every day would take roughly 2,640 years to burn through that amount. At some point, Oprah wasn't simply interviewing influential people anymore. She had become one of them. Presidents cared about her endorsement, Hollywood valued her approval, and some of the world's richest people were in her circle. That famous couch apparently came with a VIP pass into the establishment. Now here's where the childhood story gets more complicated. Before anyone starts waving pitchforks, reports from relatives have challenged the idea that Oprah's early life was quite as desperate as the public story sometimes makes it sound. According to them, her upbringing wasn't exactly a non-stop battle for survival. And apparently Oprah had ambitions from an early age. She didn't simply want financial stability. She wanted serious wealth, enormous fame, and influence on a massive scale. Her name everywhere, her face everywhere, and enough money to make even the biggest calculator sweat. And naturally, that raises another question. If certain parts of the struggle were exaggerated for the story, what else might have been polished along the way? Then things get seriously uncomfortable. The woman known for presenting herself as the queen of empathy allegedly found herself at the center of a major conflict involving one of her former friends. And according to the criticism surrounding the situation, the fallout exposed someone to an extremely painful personal moment, while ratings and television business were also in the picture. That's a pretty brutal combination. And once people started feeling betrayed, the gloves were off. Other celebrities had plenty to say too. And suddenly, Oprah's carefully maintained image wasn't looking quite as untouchable as before. And if you think Monique was the only celebrity to clash with Oprah, think again. Over the years, Oprah has had disagreements and controversies involving a long list of famous personalities. That's especially interesting considering how heavily her brand was built around compassion, healing, understanding, and emotional connection. When enough people publicly describe negative experiences with the same powerful figure, eventually viewers are going to start asking questions. Then there's one of television's most famous giveaways, the legendary car episode. Everybody Gets a Car became an unforgettable Oprah moment. People screamed, cried, celebrated, and reacted like they had just won the lottery. But there was one little detail that didn't get nearly as much attention in the celebration: taxes. Getting a free car could also mean receiving a tax bill connected to that prize. So the famous moment wasn't exactly, you get a car and you're completely done. It was more like, you get a car and potentially a financial responsibility attached to it. And then we get to one of the most controversial chapters: Brazilian spiritual healer João de Deus. Oprah promoted him publicly and even traveled to Brazil to meet him, helping bring attention to his alleged healing abilities. Years later, numerous women accused him of sexual abuse, and he was ultimately convicted of sexual crimes. Oprah later condemned him after the allegations became public. But the controversy still leaves people asking a difficult question. How did someone with such a powerful public platform end up giving credibility to a person who would later face such serious accusations? Then there's Ellen, whose public story also centered heavily around struggling before fame. She has spoken about working different jobs, including waitressing, painting houses, and selling vacuum cleaners, before eventually finding success in comedy. Then came television fame, and eventually she built a massive daytime talk show empire and accumulated enormous wealth. And that's where the criticism becomes interesting. When someone builds a brand around being relatable and remembering what it feels like to struggle, people naturally expect that same empathy to continue after success arrives. So when former employees and others later described negative experiences involving Ellen's workplace culture, that old relatable image suddenly became much harder for some viewers to believe. And after the controversies, seeing Ellen attempt to reconnect with audiences through humor and a more casual public image created another wave of criticism. For some people, the issue wasn't the jokes. It was whether the audience still trusted the person delivering them. Once the public image takes a hit, even something harmless can suddenly be viewed through a completely different lens. So did Oprah and Ellen literally sell their souls? I can't tell you that, because I wasn't sitting in some secret Hollywood office watching anyone sign supernatural paperwork. But when enormous wealth, incredible influence, controversial relationships, and accusations from different people keep becoming part of the conversation around powerful celebrities, it's understandable that audiences start asking uncomfortable questions. Maybe that's simply the price of becoming Hollywood royalty. Maybe fame changes people. Or maybe the public eventually starts noticing the parts of a carefully built celebrity image that were always hidden behind the curtain. Either way, the real question is, what actually happened behind those perfectly polished doors?